Hello, this is our FAFSA help tutorial video on the fourth section of the FAFSA under parent demographics. So if you'd answered the first three sections as a student and when you went through the dependency questions, it was determined that your parent information must be provided on the FAFSA application, then the parent demographics would pop up. If when you answered dependency, you said maybe you were a foster youth or a ward of the court or something had happened and it designated you as an independent student, then you would not see these parent demographic or parent financial sections popping up on the FAFSA. The FAFSA would kind of automatically bypass this information and take you straight to the student section. But for those who are dependent students and where parents will be providing information on the FAFSA, this is the first of the parent demographic section. So sometimes it's kind of fun. We go out and do workshops with high school students and we start to ask them these questions about their mom and dad. And you're kind of like, especially like when mom and dad got married, and they're like, I don't know, I wasn't there. So it's kind of, might need mom and dad's help to answer some of these questions. So again, this is asking about the parents, what is the marital status of your parents? And you can provide, never married, married, and both legal parents living together, so married or remarried, divorced or separated or widowed. So again, sometimes we have sections where I live with my biological parents, they're my mom and dad, but they never were married. You'll be providing both parent information. Parents are married in the house, you'll provide two parents. If parents are divorced or separated or widowed, then the FAFSA is just going to bring up the information and for one parent only, and you don't have to provide the information for both parents. And if parents are divorced or separated, you're going to provide information on the parent that you live with more than the most of the time, more than 50% of the time. And students say, well, I live equally with my parents. Then we go to which parent provides more of your support, more than 50% of your support. Sometimes they say, oh, it's 50-50, they don't know. So sometimes you have to make that guess as to which parent you are going to provide the parent information and housing and income information on your FAFSA if parents are divorced, separated, and you can choose one or the other. So in this case, because it'll ask for both parent information, I'm going to say parents are married. And then of course it's that question, when did your parents get married? And sometimes students know that question, sometimes they don't. So, oops, you type in the information, like if it's September, it would be 09, and then the year is the 4-digit year. So let's say mom and dad got married in September. September of 1995. Let's just put that in there. Hit next. So you can see if you're putting the information in wrong, it's going to kind of stop you and alert you and have you type it incorrectly. So then it's going to ask again, is where you're going to need your parents' help. It's asking for parent social security number information. So and it's going to ask for each parent. So this is, you can see the information for your first parent. And you have to decide, okay, if I'm living home, like, mother, father, step parent. So which parent number one? Remember, like, okay, if that's going to be my father, and then parent number two will be my mother, every time it says parent one or parent two, remember which one that is. So you can type in the social security number here, right off your keyboard, or if some people are a little, worried about if there's, malware or somebody's watching your keystrokes, they provide, on some of these questions, they have a little keyboard off to the side. And you can click on that keyboard, and then this virtual keyboard is a more secure way to enter the social security number. And you just hit enter. And so you can use that virtual keyboard to plug it in. That way keystrokes aren't recorded on the computer. Since we're doing this for Larry last name is our demo student, we're just going to keep the last name the same. And first parent we'll say is dad. So we'll just say dad's first initial is D. And then when was that parent born? So let's just say that maybe that parent was born in August 31st say 1960. We're just kind of making some info. So again, I can type that in directly, or again, I can use the keyboard that doesn't show keystrokes. And then if the parent has an email address, again, I'm just kind of making this up because it's a pretend demonstration. So you can provide that information. So we've entered the information for our first parent, and we click next. And again, so if it was a situation divorced or separated or one parent, you would just enter that parent information and be moving on to the next questions. But since we have said parents are married in the household, now it's asking for the other parent, or the second parent. So again, we're plugging in a social security number. We do have students in our region where COS is located in the Central Valley, California. There are a lot of immigrants, students, and a lot of diversity. So sometimes we have the students who are U.S. citizens and are filling out a FAFSA, but mom and dad are not documented or do not have social security numbers. So if you're in that situation where your parent does not have a social security card, then you are just going to put in all zeros for the social security number, and it will accept that. Because what the FAFSA does is it checks, in addition to the student, when you put in your information, it runs through when you submit a FAFSA, it goes through several federal agencies. It'll go to the Social Security Administration, it'll go through Homeland Security, it'll go through the Selective Service with the military draft, and a few other agencies, and then it comes back, gets cycled through there, and then comes back to the college, and it may say everything looks good, you can go ahead and process the student's financial aid. Or hey, we see some little red flags that popped up, and we want you to verify information. Doesn't mean there's fraud or things are, you're lying, you're gonna get in trouble. It just means, hey, something didn't match. Sometimes the social security number gets plugged in wrong, or mom's name didn't quite, because it has to be exactly on the social security card. How is the name on the social security card? That's what you want to type in. Because if the name is typed a little different, or maybe a hyphenated name wasn't in quite right, it'll flag it, and the school just needs to verify. So the more accurate you can be, the better. But it's perfectly all right if, in this case, the parent's undocumented, you just put in all zeros, and then you have parent last name, first initial, and again, we'll just kind of make up a birth date here, and we'll move on. Have your parents lived in California for at least 5 years? So again, just kind of entering that yes or no. And then the last part of this section, there can be some confusion for students. If down the road, again, in some of my prior videos, I talked about how after it goes through the systems, an application might be randomly selected for verification, and we might ask the student to fill out a verification form where they will be kind of writing in some information, and one of our verification forms asks the student to put in the household size, which is kind of just trying to verify or match that what they put on their FAFSA application is kind of matching. It's kind of like doing a little quick audit check of what was put on the application as to what other documents show. So for household size, in this case we said parents are married, so it's automatically saying 2, and it won't let me change that. And then you are the student, you're completing it, so you count as 1. So already in your household we have 2 parents and 1 student in college. But who else is living in that house with you? You have brothers and sisters. So maybe this student, Larry last name, also has 2 brothers and 1 sister. So there's 4 kids total. So you would say, your parents' other children, even if they do not live with your parents. So I would say, and they are taking care, they're supporting that. So I'm going to say, yes, I have, as a student, I also have 3 other siblings. And then, is there anybody else living in the house? Sometimes you have a grandparent who's living with mom and dad and you're taking care of them, or there's another family member, a sister, an aunt or uncle or cousin or somebody who's maybe for some reason needing a place to stay, and they're staying in your house and mom and dad are taking care of them. So maybe, my grandmother lives with us too, and my parents work hard and they take care of my grandmother. That can be plugged in there. And then so then it's saying your parents' member of family members in the household size. So then we go back and kind of recap. Okay, who's living in my home with me? Yep, I've got mom and dad, myself, my 2 brothers and my sister and my grandmother. That's 7 people all living in the house. And mom and dad are working to take care of them. And so, yes, we have 7 in our household. And then lastly, it's like, how many people are going to be in college during the school year? So you, the student, yes, you're filling out a FAFSA, you are going to be in college, that counts as 1. But you could say, out of my brothers and sisters, my one sister, she's like a couple years older than me, and she's also in college right now. So me and my sister will both be in college next year. Then I'm going to put 2 people will be in college for that school year. And why this is important is when the FAFSA application is submitted, that's one of the key criteria. It's looking at your parent income, and if you, as a student, had a job or had income, you're putting that income on a FAFSA. So if it's just, hey, it's mom and dad and they have 1 child going to college and mom and dad make $80,000 a year combined, you might not be eligible for aid. You might not get a Pell Grant, or may just have student loans because mom and dad make pretty good money and it's just the 1 child they're taking care of. But if you're in a household where mom and dad are only making about $80,000 a year, but they're taking care of 4 kids and a grandparent, and 2 of those kids are going to college, that's a lot of expenses. So the FAFSA is going to say, we're going to give a little more aid here. We're going to give this student some Pell Grant because these parents are taking care of a lot of people in the household. So that's why it asks this information. It's very important to make this as accurate as possible because it can really affect how much aid you're eligible for. So then once we've plugged in everybody in the household and how many are in college, we hit next, and I think that is the last of the parent questions we're going to see as far as the parent demographics. And so yes, it says that section's been done. Everything was entered correctly. Your application is successfully saved. We're going to be moving on to parent financial questions.